Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Walking Dead TV podcast. This is episode 12, Wildfire. This is Russ.
This is Jordan.
This is Brad.
And this is John.
And last week was a big episode indeed. And looking at the numbers, I was hitting CBR, Comic Book Resources today, and it looks like the show increased in listenership up to 5.6 million, which is funny because it's kind of following the trend of the comic where as the show goes on, just like as the comic goes on, it's actually gaining listeners, or gaining readers, gaining listeners, like the comic does, which is unusual in both the TV and the comic world that you'd have an increase in your audience as time goes by way around.
Yeah, I think word of mouth is definitely catching on for the television show. I think the people that were afraid of the zombie premise are kind of getting talked into the fact that it's more about people and, there's some real drama involved and more viewers are just coming around.
Plus, this past week was the Entertainment Weekly cover story of The Walking Dead, so I'm sure that got a few more eyes on the show.
I hear Buster is pretty prevalent in that magazine. I'm serious.
He's all over it, and it confuses the heck out of me because I've only seen him in the one episode, right? Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I know he's listed as being in 2 in IMDb. I mean, that could have gotten cut. We don't know. Maybe he'll show up in the finale.
Yeah, he's probably on the cutting room floor, I would imagine. That's too bad, though, because I thought I was onto something.
It's going to catch on. One of these days, we're going to be either reading a magazine or looking at a website, and they're going to make reference to it, and we're going to go, ha, we started that. But we've got big news. We have a very special announcement to make this week. We, at the Walking Dead TV podcast, have a new sponsor.
Yay.
That's right, DCBS. What is DCBS? It's a discount comic book service. It's a mail order service to where you can get your comic books, and I've used it for quite a while now. For those of you that don't know, every month there's a magazine published called Previews, and it has all the comic books and trades and toys and magazines and clothing items and anything else geeky that you can imagine that will be in comic book shops 2 months from now. Like if an issue came out now, it would show you what's going to be in the stores 2 months from now. And on DCBService.com, you can order anything in that book through their website. And like I said, I've done that for a while now. And the great part of it is that your Marvel and your DC books are all at least 40% off, which is wonderful. Almost half off of your monthly comic book budget. It's amazing. They've also got trades. And as listeners of the Walking Dead TV podcast, you are in a position to where if you've never ordered from Discount Comic Book Service, you can use a code in the checkout process to save an additional 8%. I think, John, is that right?
Yeah, it'll be 8% on your entire first order with them. So if you've never used them before, you fill up your cart with a bunch of 40 and almost 50% off books, including a bunch of Walking Dead books that we can talk about in a minute. And then you put in WD8, and you'll get an extra 8% off your entire order, which we were just saying, it should pretty much kill your shipping cost, and you'll have a nice discount.
Yeah, with DCB Service, they will ship to you however often you want. You can have it once a month. You can get a box, once a month. And it's like Christmas when you get that box. It's pretty awesome. You can have it once a month, you can have it twice a month, or you can have it once a week. And if memory serves, shipping for 1 month, doesn't matter how much you order, is $5.95, flat rate shipping once a month. If you want to have shipping twice a month, then there's an additional shipping cost associated with that. But, some of us that read comics all the time spend enough that saving the 40 or 50, or we haven't even mentioned, sometimes they have 75% off specials on certain issues that come out on a certain month or whatever. So obviously, the more you buy, the more you save. It will easily even out that shipping cost, and you're still going to save money.
The reason we kind of had DCBS in mind as a sponsor, and we actually reached out to them, and the reason being is we're getting all of these listeners of our show that are saying, I really want to read the comics now, or I just started reading the trades, and they never read comics before. So we're really hoping to bring the viewing audience to the comic. That's one of our goals. So just off the bat, you can get the Volume 1 hardcover for The Walking Dead at DCBS. The cover price is $34.99.
That's the first 12 issues.
Correct. This is 2 trades in one in an oversized, beautiful hardcover book. And when we say oversized, I have to remember that not everybody is a comic book fan. It's physically bigger than the size of the comic book that came out. It's a large book, so you're going to get bigger art and a nicer presentation here. The price is $34.99. The DCBS price is $22. So that's a 37% discount on the book. Now you throw your extra 8% using WD8. It's pretty much going to cover your shipping. You're going to end up with a little bit over $20 for a great $35 book that's going to get you the first 12 issues of The Walking Dead. And they have every volume in stock.
That's one of the cool things about DCB Service. Yes, you can get new stuff that comes out 2 months from now, but a lot of the more popular books they will keep in stock. They usually have available to order every month, so you can always catch up on things you miss. So if you want to check it out, go to www.dcbservice.com, and if you decide you want to place your first order, you can use that code WD8. You're going to get like 50% off your order, so you're in great shape.
Just one more quick example. The Walking Dead Volume 1, the trade now. So this is the soft cover, first 6 issues of the book. Regularly $9.95. The DCBS price is $5.97. That's a 40% discount. Throw your 8% on top of that for your first order. Now you're talking about getting the first volume for half price. So definitely for the people looking to start up reading, the soft covers, see if you like it, this is the way to go. They also donated a bunch of prizes for us that we're going to be giving away in the near future to hopefully get some more people started up on the comics.
The other way you can get it, and I'll just do this real quick, is you could be just like John and I and prepare for the zombie apocalypse and get the Walking Dead Volume 1 Compendium, which is a soft-cover, telephone book-size copy of the first 48 issues. This thing's a monster. So that's another way. If you feel like you've either read maybe the first trade and love it, and it was such a cheap price, you want to be able to rip through a lot of issues, that compendium is worth it.
There's nothing better for patching in the brains of the undead.
That's true. That is true. It could do some serious damage, that book. Russ, you've been a DCBS customer for a while, haven't you?
Several years, yeah.
There's nothing like coming home and seeing that box on your doorstep, or it's sitting inside on the kitchen table waiting for you. It's like Christmas.
Yeah, we have. It's funny, I live out in the boonies, but we have an actual box that we've set up for UPS and FedEx because I literally live off the beaten path and they won't come to the house. So when I know it's coming, I get that confirm email that the shipping is there. I love just pulling up to that box in my car and just reaching out, grabbing it, and hauling it up to the house and opening it up right when I first get in. But yeah, it's like Christmas twice a month. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, and they will deliver it to your home, your office. I've had it delivered to both places. I've had it delivered to a friend's house. They're really good. They're good people. We've met them in person a couple times. So check out dcbservice.com, especially if you're really thinking about starting to pick up some comics.
Very cool. All right, so we're going to start off with a voicemail that came in after Vatos, but before Wildfire. So it's kind of a general voicemail. We're going to play that quick, and then we'll get moving.
Hey guys, Brady from New Mexico. I've been listening to podcasts for a while now, and I love the podcast. I love watching the TV show. I'm a big fan of zombie genre. What do you guys talk about the fact that the zombies eat animals? I've never experienced that. I've never experienced seeing that in the genre at all in my experience. Is it more of a comic book genre or what? Thanks.
Okay, zombies as animals. We did speak about that once. What are the specific examples of zombie animals? I guess Resident Evil, the dogs, the video game?
Well, to be clear, I think he was asking about zombies eating animals, not about zombies or animal zombies, right?
I don't know. The audio was a little rough. Maybe we can address both quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're talking zombies as animals, the first thing that comes to mind is Resident Evil. Not only for the dogs, too. I think it was Resident Evil Apocalypse, the third one. They had the big bird swarm or whatever.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think I remember that. Those two examples are the only ones I could come up with.
Now, eating animals. I guess we had a rat eater in Guts, our second episode.
And we have the horse, of course. Which,
Oh, the horse, of course. Yeah, sports
and,
red.
and the deer, which is also from the comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's telling me he meant zombies as animals.
Outside of the comics, or outside of Walking Dead, I think the only zombies eating animals instance I can think of is the George A. Romero film Survival of the Dead, his most newest film, not his greatest by far, but there's a whole subplot about whether or not the people of this island can convince zombies to eat a horse rather than people. And I'm not going to spoil that, but yeah, that's what a large part of the movie's about.
All right, so there you have it. Brad, how about some iTunes reviews since last time?
We got several positive ones, and we actually got a couple of negative ones. If you don't mind, I'm going to start with the negative ones. There's two of them that came in a couple days apart. I'm going to kind of combine the two. One guy says they're thorough. I'll give them that, but they're also boring, a little too serious about it. I kept finding myself tuning out. The jokes are pretty bad. Another guy says, do we really need to be told each moment of a show that we just saw a couple of days ago without much commentary or added insight? This podcast could be a lot shorter. Yes, we do like to talk about it in detail. We're all pretty anal when it comes to that kind of thing. I think I might take issue with his comment about how there's not much commentary or added insight. I don't find us to be lacking in that.
How do you feel about what he said about your jokes?
I know exactly what he's talking about. The jokes are pretty bad, especially the ones that come from me, so you got me there. But, you know, we love doing our show this way, and obviously by all the other reviews that we've gotten, the majority of people that listen think so as well.
Why don't you read some of those others then?
Okay. Jinxie3, she's a Twitter follower. She says, I'm new to The Walking Dead as I've never read the books, but watch the show mainly because of Norman Reedus. Yes, I am a little fangirly at times, but this show has me hooked, line and sinker. This podcast is a great companion to the show. I love all the different angles the guys and their listeners bring to the show. They managed to take it to an entirely new level without spoiling anything for those of us Walking Dead newbies. The guys are informative, entertaining, and really complete the total viewing experience. Keep up the good work, guys. Totally recommend this podcast to anyone who's a fan of The Walking Dead.
Well, thank you.
Got another one that says, excellent podcast for The Walking Dead. If you love the TV show and or the comics, you want to hear then you want to hear these guys. If you can't get enough of the TV show but haven't read or know next to nothing about the comics like me, then again, you really want to listen to this show. The guys are all very knowledgeable about the training of the comic itself, but they're careful not to let any spoilers loose. It's interesting as a novice of the comics to get a different take on the characters and episodes as the season progresses. There isn't just commentary on the show itself and advice about purchasing the comics, but also interviews from behind-the-scenes people like Iron E, Singleton, T-Dog. Check them out. And we got a couple of more great reviews. I could keep reading them, but I want to thank all those people that threw in the good reviews and even the two negative reviews. You know, we like to hear what people don't like so we can know what to either change or to ignore and just keep on doing. So. And
we have another special guest, right from a chef tasting. No, I guess zombies would taste chefs, but is that what you call it, Jim? What the hell were you?
I was graciously invited to a chef's tasting tonight for the new restaurant that just opened up in Pittsburgh called Salt by James Beard Award-winning chef named Kevin Sousa, a good friend of ours. And on actually one of the things on the tasting were sweetbreads, a.k.a. brains. So
very nice.
I brought it all back home to the zombie theme. Hi, everybody.
Well, you made it just in time for Jordan to get started with the wildfire walkthrough. So
I just want to say this episode should have been called Dale Rules. And I'll explain why as we get on with the recap. That's the title I liked.
I totally agree with Jim.
We could start an entire campaign to get the show changed. You know, their title changed to Dale Rules from The Walking Dead. I could get behind that.
The Walking Dale.
The Walking Dead.
Hey, before we start that synopsis, we should also mention that we are going to announce our contest winner at the end of the show.
Yeah,
today.
thanks, John. I was just about to bring that up. We got some great entries, and lots of people participated, so I'm looking forward to handing out those trades to the winner.
That's the contest for all 12 trades, right?
Yes, sir, it is. All 12 of them.
That is awesome.
All right, so episode 105, Wildfire, starts with the sunrise over Atlanta, where Rick is trying to radio Morgan. You'll remember him from episode 1 of the series. He talks about how he found his family, but he warns Morgan, do not enter the city. It belongs to the dead now. Rick also recaps the attack on the camp the prior night.
I love how his, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to say, we had him talking to Morgan at the beginning and then near the end of this episode. It's really cool to hear his internal monologue. Morgan kind of, in Rick's mind, represents hope. You know what I mean? Like, there's hope that him and his son are still alive out there somewhere. And, it's almost like he has to keep believing that Morgan is out there for him to kind of keep going on.
Definitely. And it's a good way to get around, like, a voiceover or something that wouldn't really fit the tone of the show.
Right, and it's pretty good exposition even for people who haven't seen every single episode. It kind of sets the table, as it were.
Yeah, I don't want to add too much insight to what we're doing or anything, but again, this goes to speak to Rick's character. And for me, this is what the show is about, is Rick and all the people around him. Rick is my favorite character. He's in the show and in the book. And this just, once again, just shows what kind of a guy Rick is, and the fact that he, in the middle of all this craziness, that he really still does give a crap about, for lack of a better way to say it, dangling plot threads in his own life. He is worried about Morgan now, and so he's trying to do what he can to deal with it. And it just really works for his character.
He kind of, this is going way off track, so I'll be fast. He kind of reminds me of Jack from Lost in that he has to save everybody. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to go off and make sure Merle got off the roof, and he's got to go and make sure that Morgan, finds his way out of it since Morgan helped him, and he's pulling himself away from it. Thank you. He's pulling himself away from his family and other things to make sure he can save everybody. It's just kind of like that same syndrome, and other characters don't always take to it. I think viewers like that kind of heroic trait, but it's interesting how other characters react to it.
Definitely. And that's not the last Lost reference we'll be making tonight in the show, I am sure, especially after that ending.
Agreed.
So next we move to the camp. Andrea is non-responsive, and she's still cradling the body of Amy. She's been there all night. Lori tries to talk to her, but no response whatsoever. And it's at this point I noted that Amy's shirt now looks like a bloody American flag, and this is not the first. I'm sorry, it is the first, but it's not the last American flag that is prevalent in the show, in this particular episode. So I thought that was an interesting one.
I didn't pick that up, Jordan. Can you explain how it looks? It's not an American flag pattern on the shirt, right? You're saying that the way the blood is kind of laying on it?
She's wearing a white shirt with blue stars, and she's been wearing it since episode 1, I guess. And now it's covered in dark blood, so it definitely looks like a faded American flag. Only with the stars and the white transposed, of course. But so it definitely gives that feeling, whether or not it's a literal representation of the flag. And it could just be my imagination, but I definitely thought it was weird that would show up as well. the other flag later on. So the people at the camp burn zombie bodies, and discuss the Andrea-Amy situation. Shane says they need to deal with Amy just like all the other bodies. So Rick goes to Andrea, and she pulls a gun on him, and this time she knows how the safety works. So Rick backs away and says several times that he is sorry. And then we go to the opening credits.
You know, I totally didn't get what was happening with Andrea until she pulled the gun on Rick. You know, like when they kept saying that they made a note of her being with Amy like that all night. You know, she stayed with Amy the entire night. And it didn't dawn on me that, and I guess I'm jumping ahead, but the reason that she was staying right with her, and then when she pulls the gun on Rick, it kind of becomes very clear. But I guess we'll get to that scene soon enough.
That really surprised me. I didn't see that coming when she pulled the gun, but it just makes me really excited to see where Andrea goes in the story, knowing what we know of her already from the books.
Every single scene with Andrea and Amy, when I watched this with my wife was cringing. It was like, you know, the stereotypical scene in the movie theater. She's like talking to the screen. Oh, don't do that. She's going to charge. She's going to jump and bite you. And especially later in the episode as well.
Yeah, I was too, Jim.
It was a super source of tension for her.
I was too. I just kept saying, you better shoot her now. You better shoot her now. You better shoot her. I probably said it like a million times.
So then we get a whole bunch of bits and pieces of everyone's reaction to the stress. If there's one theme of this episode, it's grief and dealing with the loss. And we get to see little snippets of just everyone's how they're kind of being brought to the breaking point. You know, Daryl calls Amy a time bomb, and he wants them to just take care of her. Lori says, let Andrea be. Glenn bursts into tears at one point and protests the burning of their human dead. He says, we don't burn them. We bury them. You understand?
How'd you feel about Glenn's acting here, Brad? Stephen Yoon, I should say, right?
It didn't bother me. I believed it. I think he's gotten better with each episode, actually.
I didn't know about that particular outburst the first time I watched it, but going back to finish out my notes the second time this afternoon, I definitely thought it worked pretty well.
I mean, it works. It's naturally, you know, I would have felt the same way as him. You know, I would have been like, no, we got to bury him. You know, I'm a woman when it comes to that kind of emotional stuff anyway. I cried at the movie School of Rock at the end when the kids are playing on stage. I mean, that's just how emotional I am. So, you know, I can obviously imagine the way I'd be in the middle of a zombie issue.
I thought it was a great character moment for Glenn because he, of all the characters, I guess you would think to stand up and make a point of that. Probably Glenn wouldn't be the first to come to mind. So the fact that he was the one that did that, I think, was just a great choice and another great character moment for him.
I think part of the problem I had originally with Glenn and his acting is that Glenn's always been my second favorite character in the comic, and when he didn't live up to my expectation in the first episode, I was very disappointed. But like I said, he's starting to warm up to me now.
So at this point, Daryl says they all have this common for what they did to Merle. And I thought it was interesting after we spent a whole episode trying to go back and rescue Merle. This is the only reference to the character in the entire episode.
Yeah, we got a voicemail about that that we'll get to later where somebody was saying that they thought that was a little bit off, that all of a sudden Daryl seemed to be okay with the Merle situation, and they leave a note for Morgan, but there's still no sign of Merle.
Yeah, the only thing I guess is that, last time they at least had an idea of where Merle was. Now he's got a vehicle and he could be literally anywhere.
Yeah, that's how I thought. I mean, he left the site, he took their van, so obviously he knew they came back for him, and he decided not to go back to the camp. So, I mean, I think even at this point, Daryl's like, what the hell? Why wouldn't you come back at least for me? So I wonder if there's some tension there. And if Merle ever makes it back into the picture, if it's not just going to be this, great family reunion between Daryl and Merle, if Daryl's going to, have a little animosity, towards Merle for the fact that, I think Daryl is bonding more with the survivors, and the fact that Merle kind of took off and didn't come back for his brother.
Well, not to get too far ahead of what happens later when the group kind of breaks up or whatever, I thought for sure that Daryl was going to leave the main group when they go off to go where they're going. But he didn't, and I think that plays into what Russ is talking about. He seems to be bonding more with the survivors, even though, even as he curses them for not taking out Amy or not burning their own dead.
Daryl's a necessary evil, I think, in the group. I think the leaders respect that he's willing to do what needs to be done.
But in the ultimate, eventually, I guess they're going to run into Merle again. Is Merle going to take that as a betrayal? I mean, it'll be an interesting plot point to see play out.
For sure. So at this point, they're up. I think this scene takes place up in the grave, so I'm not 100% sure. But Jackie figures out that Jim was bitten during the attack. The camp quickly comes to him, and they grab him to look at the bite, and it's bad, but he's adamant that he's okay. So they discuss the morality of killing Jim. Rick decides that he wants to go to the CDC to see if they have a cure. Shane doesn't like that. He wants to go to a nearby military base, Fort Benning, which is 100 miles away in the opposite direction. And Daryl's had enough of talking and almost takes a pickaxe to Jim. But Rick pulls a gun and says, we do not kill the living.
That was an awesome scene.
And I really like Daryl's response, too. I forget exactly what it was, but something like, yeah, very cute coming from somebody who just pulled a gun on me.
Yeah.
Was I the only one that had a flashback to their childhood when the lady was like, Jim got bit? I was like, that's just like my brother. I'm telling you, you did something wrong. I'm telling you.
My first thought and response was, he's got red on him.
Got red on you. Jackie's relationship with Jim was interesting the whole episode because she was the one who called him out, but then she was also the one who stayed with him in the trailer, tending to him for quite a bit of the episode.
This is one spot. The Jim situation is one spot where personally the length of the season is hurting it for me. Like, I just don't care about Jim enough yet for it to be a big deal.
What I was going to say is that this storyline in the comic took a lot longer to play out, and we got to know Jim a little bit better than we did in the show. It seems a little bit annotated in this version.
See, my memory of the comic is that we don't really know Jim much at all until he's bit, and then everything after that is kind of when we learn about him. Is that wrong? Or?
I think he's always there, though. Like, you might not know him very well, but he's in the group for a long period of time.
I was enjoying that they fleshed him out a little bit in the two previous episodes, giving him lines here and there, which I don't think they've done in the comic. I'd have to go back and check. Like I said, I'm not sure. But.
I really liked Jim in the show. He went from nut job to sane to tragic, pathetic figure. And when he's sitting in the, I know we'll talk about it in a second, but when he's having those zombie flashbacks or visions, that was really kind of creepy.
So Dale goes to pay his respects to Amy. Andrea's still there holding the body. And he tells Andrea how he lost his wife. His wife accepted death, but he never could, and he felt angry and cheated ever since. And he says that since she died of cancer, Amy and Andrea were the first people he had ever cared anything for. They discuss how Andrea always missed Amy's week-long birthday affair, and Dale says that things are hard enough already without adding guilt into the mix. So Andrea pulls the mermaid necklace out and puts it on Amy's body. Dale is pickaxing bodies, and Carol has Daryl let her do Ed herself. She's crying at first, but I don't think it was very surprising when she then goes into full rage mode and starts hitting him over and over again to the point where Daryl is even taken aback by her actions.
Okay, this is where there's, I guess, two issues I had with this episode, and these are both very minor, but still just something that stood out to me. The Foley on them pickaxing the bodies